Warm greetings from the high 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me. Those who are joining this live number 3 for this evening, thank you for your time and your patience. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend, and please have a prosperous new week and happy holidays to the viewing audience. Live number 3. As most of you know, Mr. Goncalves has been chitter-chattering via the news, and it's dicey at this point, I do believe. Does he have a conflict with the police department? Are they pleased with him talking to the news? Is this the reason why they're not divulging any information to him and the parents of the decedents? Because Mr. Goncalves refuses to stop talking? Well, the cat is out of the bag now. I will bring you commentary with a source that Kaylee'S Goncalves received more brutal wounds than the others. And I also will play initially the interview that got this ball crunk, and perhaps the police will, I don't know where this is going. If they're going to tell us in agreement to the insinuations by Mr. Goncalves, has he tainted this investigation? Has he harmed this investigation by continuously talking to the news? Should he have kept quiet about anything he thought, who he thought was a target or not? Because now it is his child that's been labeled the one with the most wounds. Thank you so much for joining me. Live number 3. Thank you.
Good evening, America, and welcome to this special edition of Cross Country in Moscow, Idaho. Tonight, we are in front of the Moscow Police Department, and you may be asking why. It's been about 3 weeks since the horrific stabbing death of 4 college students at the University of Idaho. 3 weeks since we lost Zayna, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ethan. 3 weeks, and still the police have no suspect or person of interest. The community has been left in limbo, left with more confusion and more questions. We are on the hunt for answers for them. Moscow deserves answers. The students of the university deserve answers. These 4 young innocent victims deserve answers, and so do their families. So let's start there. Joining me now on set, the parents of Kaylee'S Goncalves, Christy and Steve Goncalves. Thank y'all so much for being with me. You guys have been so transparent and strong for the public. Christy, you called the person that did this the boogeyman.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
It's literally like what nightmares are made of. Like when you're a little kid and you think of the boogeyman, that's just how I feel. Like that's just the horrific details of everything. Them just having a good time, going home and going to bed, and that's happening to them.
Your best friend crawling into bed.
Just crawling in bed.
Every
and
girl
the
in
boogeyman
America
comes.
knows what that's
The
like.
boogeyman doesn't, meet you at McDonald's. I mean, the boogeyman comes and snatches you out of your bedroom.
Steve, we've been talking. I've been talking to folks in the community. You said something that stuck with me. You said, until this person is caught, you can't sleep in your bed.
No, I can't just lay in my bed and do nothing. That's not the way I raised my family. That's not the way I raised my girls and my son. You don't be a victim. You stand up for yourself and you do everything in your power to make sure people hear you. They're gonna hear Katie. They're gonna hear Maddie. They're gonna hear these.
The other two as well.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm careful saying anything about them because I need to be careful because I can't speak on somebody else's child. But these 2 girls, I'm not trying to be a glory hound, but these 2 girls, I'm going to do what I can do, and we're not being victims. We're going to fight. We're going to figure out how to make sure that we hold everybody, accountable, and we keep eyes and attention on this and get this thing resolved.
Steve, you have made it very clear to our audience that you are supportive of law enforcement. You support the investigation. But recently, I've been watching and talking with you, and you're getting frustrated. Where does that frustration come from, sir?
They put certain people between you and the officers that are making things happen, And those people are like lawyers, and they don't want to say anything, and they don't have the guts to come up and be alpha and be like leaders and say, hey, we might say something that's wrong. We're going to take that hit. So the officers, they look me straight in their eyes. The lead detective looked me in his eyes. I have no doubt he's working as hard as he can, but somebody isn't communicating. There's nothing being released. It seems like they're trying to suppress the story. We want to put rewards out. They're like, don't do that. Yeah, I get it. Your town doesn't want to have reward posters posted all over when you come and you do your rush. You're not going to get a lot of students if they see those things.
Right.
But this community is not going to heal until this guy's pulled off the streets. It ain't going to happen. Think it through. It's not going to happen. He has to be off the streets. We all are working for the same thing.
When was the last time y'all heard from the police?
Thursday,
we looked at our phone records. We want to be accurate. We don't want to sell anyone out.
about 3 o'clock on Thursday.
And
did y'all get an update from the police about the investigation?
There was nothing. We have no updates for you.
There was no update. They needed me to sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something
Some mail.
that was mail related. So we're working with them. We're not selling them out. We love our law support.
The FBI, everybody that's here.
I've
We just have no information as family, and it's tough day after day after day. I mean, every day you just wake up and think today's the day. We're going to hear something, and you see these, oh, there's a break in the case, and it'll just be something stupid.
the sixth person in the on the lease that was never there. Stop playing games. This is serious. These are people's lives. This is the future of this community. There's going to be 10,000, 15,000 kids that come into this community next year, or they don't. So I'm serious.
I had the opportunity to speak to some of my sources, and I've been told that there were differences in the way that the victims were killed. Some were more severe than the other. And this week we heard the target attack walk back and then reverse it back to it being a target attack. What can you tell us about the targeted attack?
They have told us that it was targeted, but they told us they can't tell who. We asked specifically, and they said, we'll try to get that information to you. And they got back to us a day or so later, and they said, we're sorry, we can't give you that information. But then a day later, we saw in the news that it was not targeted, or they think the whole house was targeted. But
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Their means of death don't match.
Maddie's
They don't.
and Kaylee's cause of death, it does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Would indicate that one of them.
He doesn't have to
may
go
have
up
been
the
the target.
steps. Let's stop playing games, guys. I need somebody to step up and be an alpha. Be somebody to be a leader. Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. He doesn't have to go up the steps. Their points of damage don't match.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I earned that. I paid for that funeral. I paid for that. It's my right. You ain't taking that from me.
Paid for the
If you
funeral.
don't want to say nothing, that's your bet. But don't say I'm leaking anything. I paid that bill. Sent my daughter to college to get an education. She came back in the box, and I can speak on that.
I was also told from sources that are closer
Lord.
to an investigation, because there was a lot of roommates in there. And this was horrific for those roommates that were there as well.
yeah, absolutely.
The preservation of the crime scene. Witnesses tell me that it may have well been preserved because the phone was passed around between one of the fraternity members and the girls. One of them unfortunately witnessed the death, the body there. Can you confirm that?
We cannot actually. We know nothing about that whole phone call. We've asked, and it's, I mean, I know that a lot of people want to know, but that's just not our agenda. We just are like, somebody called 911, somebody was reported unconscious. We don't really know. I mean, we've heard so many different things, and nothing has been clarified or been told to us at all. And I mean, I don't know if I personally have asked anything about that. I don't know if you have asked that, but we know that this is getting 3 weeks in, and it's starting to get, we don't want it to go cold. We're reaching out. I've reached out to friends down in California today that have connections that we're hoping to raise some money to get a reward, to get a private investigator.
Third party.
Third party.
Why go the private route? Do y'all worry that at the end of this week that this case may be
100%.
cold?
We're scared.
When you tell me you don't want a photo up there with the reward offering information, that kind of sounds like you're trying to like suppress the story. I mean, why do you not need help? But hey, I could be wrong. And your officers, I apologize if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I want to, please forgive me. Please forgive me. But if you don't have the information, people do know. If they don't, then you know, the community, this is a community that is IT based. These guys live a digital footprint like we've never. All of us older people, we don't know how much that digital footprint could be helpful. So that's what we ask for. I hope like a DNA, family lineage, if they could come out here and just start taking, this town is not that big. We could figure out this, and it might not be him. It might be a family member. We have family all going to the school together. You know, there's cousins, there's aunts, there's uncles. We can find this guy just with volunteers.
Lineage companies where
Put Idaho on the map.
Christy, Steve, we're going to stay on this case.
Thank you.
We're not going anywhere.
Thank you.
You guys have been candid with us. We'll keep asking questions. Any resource that we have available, our audience is praying for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. It was big for you guys to come back to Moscow tonight. I know it took a lot of courage to do it, and I'm hoping we can get some answers for you. Thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Oh, Lord. Fox News is the source. Oh, Lord, what is going on with these people? They're obviously upset. Let's chop up what was said. Will they have a funeral for their child? I've got information. Child is in an urn alongside Miss Maddie. They are together at the Goncalves home. He wants to know why you all playing games, law enforcement, Moscow, with the sixth person on the lease that was out of there months or so ago. So why would you all release that information? Coming up with updates, but yet nothing. Differences in the manner of death, the reporter mentions. So, stabbed, I'm assuming both, unless there was another weapon used. I don't know. Allegedly, this girl's, I don't know. I'm not going to say it because I don't know where I'm going with this, quite frankly. First, you were told this was a targeted crime, but not who. One day later, they said they couldn't reveal to you any more information. Then the next day, you changed it, law enforcement, to targeted. So what is the truth pertaining to the deaths of these young people? Is there one person that has more severe wounds to the body? Where are those wounds? Face, stomach, private areas, back, what? Mr. Goncalves says that the deaths don't match. And then the reporter says something about an autopsy. And then I'm saying, because I'm confused at what they're talking about. He's saying he paid for the funeral. He can talk. He has every right to talk. I sent my daughter to college and she came back in a box. He also mentioned something about someone going upstairs. What is he speaking of? The perpetrator or stair-step protocol with the cops? I'm lost with Mr. Goncalves at this point. And I'm not being rude. I'm profoundly lost at where he's taking this death match. What are you saying, sir? Your daughter was stabbed or not? Maddie was stabbed or not? One has more wounds. So what are you saying? You're angry that what? Your daughter has more wounds? Because I'm going to bring you commentary that says she does. So did somebody tell you that your child didn't have as many wounds and that's why you're angry? I'm confused. Well, honey, I have a lot of information to get out. They keep talking to the news, so I have to keep up with all this he said, she said stuff. Trust me, I would have loved to have rested today because I'm behind on all my other content because of this story out of Idaho. I can't even get my other content out because people won't stop talking to the news. So I have to bring whatever they said. Please, Mr. Goncalves, tell me what you mean by the bodies don't match. This is leading me to believe that you were told one thing, but then that makes no sense because you had to have seen your child's body to identify your child. So which one of you identified the body? Let's go there because I'm utterly lost. Who identified Kaylee? You or your wife? What do you mean the bodies don't match? This is bad, man. Questions about the 911 call that all of us have heard about that was misconstrued in the beginning of who saw what and who called what, which I have a problem with the 911 call because I don't understand how you all could get that story tangled up. If somebody reported the story accurately, and this is where it can get dicey, everybody follow what I'm saying now. Why would the news get that part of the story mixed up if it was told correctly? Think about what I'm saying now. If you told the story correctly to one law enforcement and law enforcement repeated it back to the news agent, how could the news get the story mixed up about A? Two people walked upstairs, saw a boy lying in the floor, ran out, called 911. Somebody passes out outside. Other people walk up to the persons, ask what's going on. They take the phone because one can't talk on the phone. Then these other people show up. Why that story couldn't have gotten repeated that way initially to the news? Please make the Queen understand. Because I don't understand how you can get the story mixed up. Oh, reward for the dead children. Why are there no rewards? Is it because the town does not want to have bad blood with the people that live there, the college, the students, their parents, prospective children coming in, prospective people transferring, graduate programs, so on and so forth, bad for business because naturally people depend on the money from the students. So as he said in his commentary, Mr. Goncalves, if there are flyers around town, posters asking for money, that would be a bad look for prospective students, faculty, yah. Yes, it would. I concur. It'd be a very bad look. Mama Bear, I don't know what they're talking about, honey. That's why Mr. Goncalves needs to quit talking in circles and just say what the hell he means. I don't want to interpret what he means. I want to just hear it from your fucking mouth. Say what you mean. You've already rocked the boat with the police. Just say it. And we can get on to the next part of this story. Because I'm starting to get aggravated. It's the police, the city, the mayor, all they're worried about biasness in the town and the look of this small Idaho town. They're worried about what people are going to say. Hell no, you're not going to that school. They're killing kids over there. Go apply somewhere else. Hell no, we ain't going over there to no football game, soccer game. They're killing kids over there. We're not going over there. I get it. Who the hell wants to patronize a place where they're sloughing off children? But you need to be transparent to keep the flow and the trust of the people because the school is not your only entity in the town. You can't worry about an image when you have people who live there and pay bills there. So it's not fair to the other people who are elderly, older, middle-aged, because if they don't know who the killer is, they don't know that they're safe either. So it's a catch-22. You can't just make it about the students because there's other people that live in the town. So it's not fair that you want to be biased in the report and the information coming out of this town because there are other citizens that live in Moscow. Mr. Goncalves thinks perhaps they're trying to suppress the story for some reason. He says he apologizes to law enforcement. But if you don't have the information, then I guess he's basically saying just say it. And then they'll step in and do what they need to do to try to get the information out. As far as a private investigator, genealogy, a reward fund. Not genealogy, but is it leaning? What I said, genealogy, yes, DNA. I am I don't know where I am right now. Andrea, I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. This is why you don't talk in circles about anything on a national broadcast. Say what you mean. Mr. Goncalves, we as the viewing audience would like to know what the hell are you talking about? The deaths, the match, the what? What don't match? Was one of the other victims beat up then? Are we talking about somebody was beat up then? What are you saying? This is why I asked you all everything. When I talk about a story, I don't just talk about what is assumed. I bring you all the variables. Because until you are looking at the dead body, you have no idea what the hell is going on behind the scenes. So I asked you all, was there other means of brutality as far as a weapon? Did the perpetrator use another? At Figment, that's where I was starting to wonder. Is this a matter of somebody in the room stabbed all the others and then killed themselves? What the fuck? I'm done. I can't do this. Because this ain't making no sense to me. So what does he mean by they don't match up? Then he said something about going up the stairs, which that don't make no sense, because now we have to ask ourselves, did they tell Mr. Goncalves that other victim had more wounds and he assumed they were the target but not Kaylee? Is that where we're going with this? But now we find out that it is Kaylee with the most wounds, brutal wounds. This is the most. This and Debbie Collier, man, you all are neck to neck right now. I think they mean that they weren't found in respective areas. Well, Figment, that don't make no sense because the girls were found together. And if a person is stabbed, what difference do it matter about where they're found? Dead is dead. You're dead over here. You're dead in the tub. You're dead in the bed. You're dead in the kitchen. Dead is dead to me. If I see 4 people lying in the house dead, they all were shot. What do I care where they were shot? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, what do I care? They're dead. One sitting on the couch. One was in the bathtub. One was sitting on the porch smoking a cigarette. But they're dead. So what is he talking about? This is why Mr. Goncalves shouldn't be talking. You can't just keep talking in circles, then say, oh, I apologize, but hey, it's my kid. Hey, I paid for the funeral. I can say what I want to say. Well, then just say it. Say what you're trying to say. Well, he needs to go on and just say it, because all these interviews is just a waste of time. You've traveled all the way up to Moscow to talk, but you didn't say really what you wanted to say. Just be done with it. Because you got us sitting here on edge like, what the hell is going on? What the hell happened in the house? Because now we're starting to wonder, is there more to the story than just some people stabbed? Yeah, he's doing too much. Thank you, Lance. He's doing too much. Because I'm all for rallying for your children, whether they're alive or deceased. But don't talk in circles because you're confusing people. Then we're just going to start wondering what's the truth or not. And it goes back to somebody said that, I think somebody said that didn't nobody tell him that any of those kids were targeted. I think the wife may have said that in an interview. So then now we're starting to wonder, is somebody even telling the truth about what the fuck the police said? Because what's going to be jacked up is if we find out the police ain't never told him nothing. And he's making this shit up. And then that's where Queen gonna have a problem. I don't know. What? So maybe all 4 victims' deaths weren't homicides. What? Like a pack? Well, why would I go get a new car if I'm going to kill myself 2 days later? The hell if I will. I ain't getting ready to go pay for no car and then kill myself 2 days later. I mean, that crossed my mind before going live. And the first thing I said was, ain't no way I'm going to believe that. This was some type of suicide pact. I don't know what's going on. Well, Money Moves, we don't even know what he's talking about, though. They might be trying to suppress stuff because that's their job. They're not supposed to be telling us stuff anyway. We know that. But what I don't understand is what he's talking about. What reference is he making? That's where I'm confused. I don't know. Lance says the problem is he said too many different don't match his homicide. Just maybe one of them was the killer or off themselves. Yes, Andrea. And won't that be fucked up? But how are you killing yourself by stabbing yourself to death? Do you know how much stabbing you have to do to continuously stab yourself to death? I can't imagine. I don't want to. But this just happened up in, what is this, Illinois, Buffalo Grove. I wanted to bring you all that story. The guy killed everybody in the house with a sharp instrument. Mother, wife, 2 small children, and himself. And so far, I don't get any information that he shot himself. So how did he kill himself? Please tell me this man did not stab everybody in the house or beat them with some type of poker stick or something, and then what? Did the same to himself. Jesus Christ, I'm dead. Where are you all taking this in the chat? Let's play some more commentary because Queen is confused. And I don't want to pass any type of rumors about this story because I don't understand what's going on. Oh, Lord. News Nation is my next source.
Bluetooth connected.
Kaylee'S Goncalves injury significantly more brutal. News Nation 1 hour ago, everybody. Let's roll with this. Oh, my Lord. I feel like my head is about to burst. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe one was a suicide. Oh, man. Come on with this.
Is still on the run, but still all of this remains a mystery 3 weeks later. And we have breaking news tonight. New details that we have just confirmed. News Nation is learning that Kaylee'S Goncalves' injuries were significantly more brutal than her best friend Maddie's injuries, which may end up being a very, very important piece of evidence when it comes to determining who the target was in this attack. I have learned Kaylee'S and Maddie were in an upstairs room in the house, so the killer had to go specifically upstairs to get to them. And again, that new information just confirmed that Kaylee'S injuries were, quote, significantly more brutal.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television.
1 hour ago, News Nation, if you need verification. What do you mean by that? Let's read some of the comments on the article. Maybe there's an Einstein out there that wants to put this together because I'm done. What are y'all saying down there? Yes, exactly. Suicide, yes. The murder weapon would be in the home. Yes, good point. Good point, Stefan. Hello, Shaz. Sorry, I had to have me a cup of coffee because this story is making my damn head hurt. Let's just go back to the beginning that this was a targeted crime. Because as Steffa says, the weapon would be there if it was suicide. So we're going to scratch suicide and go back to target. This would just use logic. We're going to forget about what Goncalves is saying because he's just all over the place. We're just going to stick to a targeted crime. The other ones were casualties of war. And somebody had a problem with Kaylee and they stabbed her more. But as someone said too, she may have gotten more wounds because she fought back. So I'm wrestling with this person, bigger than me, stronger than me. I would get more cuts because I'm trying to fight him off of me. Could that be the reason why Kaylee has more wounds? She fought her attacker. Stay woke. So naturally, I'm throwing up my arm. That's a slash. Throwing up, kicking up my leg. That's a slash. He's steady jabbing me because I won't give in. Okay? Are her wounds just more because she fought back? We did hear that from the coroner at the beginning of this case that there were multiple stab wounds per victim and that some fought back. Who fought back? I would say Ethan fought back because he's a man. And at least two of the other victims. So that leaves Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie. And if Kaylee had more wounds, it's either one or the other or both. She was the target, and he stabbed her repeatedly, viciously, private areas, face, and or she fought back and sustained a lot of more wounds. Which is it? All of the above. This is from Ivana Bostrom. It could mean that the perpetrator felt severe rage over her and she fought back the hardest. See what I just said? My heart is so heavy for the victims and their family and friends, but also the community of Moscow. Somebody got 19 replies on that comment, News Nation. Rage at her boyfriend because he was probably part of why the killer was expelled from the same frat. Oh, God, here you go with that mess. If it was because she fought back the hardest, there would be indications of that in the evidence. Or could it mean she was just able to put up more of a fight? She was awake and had called the police. Let's see. Oh, God. Some of these people shouldn't comment. Somebody says, well, we already know by Xana's parents that she had defensive wounds, and we know she was found on the floor between the bed and the outside wall of the bedroom. That is why the blood running down the outside wall of their bedroom is important. We can also assume that Ethan was also found dead in the small hall between the bathroom and bedroom door, probably had defensive wounds. I doubt that he was only stabbed once and fell dead, but it could be possible. And remember, the coroner said some had defensive wounds, some had just a single wound, and one had multiple wounds. That's not true. I didn't hear that nobody had no single wound. I didn't hear that. That would have mean Kaylee, according to what we have just heard. But it's best to read and watch all comments by the coroner yourself. I guess it's the best way. I am just repeating what she said out of her own mouth, not something I copied from others. Well, I watched that report, and I don't remember her saying somebody had a single wound. I heard her say it was stabbed multiple times, and some had defensive wounds, not no one. Then somebody asked somebody, how do you know this? I don't know who else they were talking to. I want to read some other comments because these people, I'm starting to get a headache. Let's see. Jack White says, I've been saying he was there for Kaylee. Her last night there, moving to Texas in her new car, to her new job, moving on with her new life. Someone couldn't handle that. It's probably the most common motive since the beginning of time. Very sad and unfortunate. Okay. Lord have mercy. Was Kaylee the second one to be killed in the same room? If so, she probably fought back hard and the killer made her pay more. Good point. Very good point. You're making this hard for me. I'm trying to get you gone. Now you want to put up a fight. So naturally it would be more brutal if you're fighting the perpetrator back. I think that's common sense. You're putting up a fight. You're making my job harder. So the more you fight me back, the more I'm going to try to stab you. I got the upper hand. I've got the weapon. I've got the weight. I've got the strength. Oh, yeah, I'm getting ready to do you in. Maybe because she fought back, it's why her wounds are more extensive, and or she was the target and he wanted to make her pay. I don't know. I had a feeling from the very start, says Earth Girl, that she was the main target. It's why her family are the ones we are hearing from the most. Her sister said Kaylee was a mean girl. Did she say that? So even her own family acknowledged this. I just hope whatever the reason or whoever the target, all the families get answers and justice. 5 replies. Let's hear what they said about that. Where did you hear her sister say she was a mean girl? Harley. That's new. I never heard any reports that Kaylee was a mean girl. Her mother said she was sort of a brat. Is that the same thing, like snarky? Somebody says, when did her sister say that? I swear her family has only ever said positive things about her. Yes, I have not heard that anyone said she was a mean girl. I don't know why anybody is going to say their child is mean. That's the last thing you want to say, and your child just got chopped up with a knife. Come on now. You see how people make up stuff? Because people take their own personal problems and reflect onto the story. And that's the one thing I've noticed about when bad things happen to people. People start thinking about their own lives and situations, and they start portraying their own drama onto the victim and the perpetrator. And you can't weigh a story like that because 1, you don't know the killer. 2, you don't know the victim. I'm going to get out of there. Let's see what somebody else has to say on News Nation. News Nation is my next source. Former FBI agent discusses possible targeted attack. Let's see.
On top of the stabbing deaths of 4 Idaho college students, that killer's still on the loose, and Kaylee Goncalves' parents are coming forward. 2 of the girls, close friends, sleeping in the same bed, but now Kaylee's parents saying the means of death between the 2 students doesn't match. They are still pushing for more answers. Joining me now for some insight into this complex investigation, Tracy Walder, former CIA officer and FBI special agent. Tracy, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you too, Natasha. Thank you.
So, Tracy, what do you hear when the parents say that the way these students were killed does not match?
Yeah, so I listened to that interview, and it's what I have been saying for a while, in that some of the ways that we can know that this is a targeted attack is in the manner in which some of these victims were killed. And I want to be sensitive, obviously, to these parents and to their friends and family. But what you might see in a situation like this is sort of a gross overkill of one victim versus the others who maybe simply just got in the way. And I believe that that's what her father is referring to. The other thing that he said multiple times was that the perpetrator didn't have to go upstairs. And that is something I said as well, particularly when I kind of walked through the floor plan of the house. If the perpetrator did indeed enter on that second floor, they had to make a cognizant effort to walk up those stairs to the 3rd floor where Maddie and Kaylee were.
I remember you saying that. Can you explain this concept of over?
Let me say this to Mr. Goncalves personally. You are grieving right now, sir, you and your wife and the other parents. The person went up to the third floor because that's where they wanted to go for whatever reason. Whether it was your child that was a target or not, Maddie, Xana, or Ethan. If we're to believe that your child was on the third floor, alongside Maddie in that same bed, same room, then the perpetrator knew that, and he went up there and he killed both for his own selfish reasons. You don't have to understand, sir, why he killed your child, because there is no logic behind why he took your child. There's no logic behind killing those kids. Doesn't matter the motive. He's sick. That's the point of the story. He's sick. So you can't understand why he climbed the stairs. And when you say that, this goes back to what I said earlier. You're leading people to believe you think that somebody else was the target. And how are you going to know that? Because the dead can't talk and the killer isn't talking. So I'm still a bit confused by your commentary. He didn't have to go up the stairs. Well, he didn't have to be in the damn house, period. He had no business being in that damn house, but he was. That's the point. Who are you speaking of? You all are not listening to the information that I'm playing. Kaylee had more wounds, and as I said before, she possibly fought back. I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't say what she did and didn't do. I'm only going by the coroner's report if I'm to believe the coroner. A few of them fought back. She said some of them fought back, and each person had several stab wounds. So that means, what difference does it make? He didn't just stab one time, because that's not what the coroner said. She said they all were stabbed multiple times. So it doesn't matter. When you look at it from the coroner's point of view, he stabbed them all more than one time. So he didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck about those kids. No matter who the target was and wasn't. He still stabbed them all to death and made sure they were dead before he left. You think he didn't stand there and watch to make sure they were all dead? This is crazy to me. So I don't understand what Mr. Goncalves is trying to portray pertaining to these deaths. If they know something else, or if he knows something else pertaining to their deaths, I would just prefer he say it and be done with it, because we are assuming that the children were stabbed to death. That is what the coroner's told us. If there's another manner of death, such as a beating or strangulation, please just say it and be done with it. Because this talking in circles is confusing people. It's utterly confusing. And it's going to cause a rift between you, the police, the FBI, the district attorney's office, and the other parents. So something needs to give with this commentary. If you know something about the deaths that has not been revealed, Mr. Goncalves, just say it already. Put an end to this. But everybody knows that if you fight a perpetrator back, you're going to have more wounds because you're trying to preserve your life. You're trying to preserve your life. So you're going to have more wounds. Unless she was so knocked out from drinking that she never responded from the attack. Am I to believe that? That she was so inebriated, she never responded from any of the stab wounds. How are we going to know? Because she's dead. Yes, he is frustrated. And he's making it difficult because he's sending us odd messages that some of us, I don't understand what he's saying.
This concept of overkill to us. What does it look like or mean when there's overkill with one victim and that type of killing looking very different from someone who is perhaps just in the way? Can you speak to that a little more?
Right. So what you might see in a situation like that, and what I do believe this probably was it was rage, right? We've all had things where we've been angry and frustrated, and you get your endorphins are up, and you're looking at perhaps multiple dozens and dozens of stab wounds on one victim, just rather maybe below 5 stab wounds on another, that was just enough to kill them. Whereas the multiple dozens that we're seeing on one of the victims, if that is what happened, would be evidence that this person was a target of someone's rage and they wanted to do more than just kill them.
In cases of overkill, how likely is it that the victim knew the killer?
In the case of overkill, I would imagine that it's very highly likely that the victim knew the killer. Now, whether or not the killer was in their, really intimate inner circle, I don't know for certain. But I would imagine that, the victim and killer maybe knew each other. However, the killer perhaps may have thought that they knew the victim more.
With Kaylee'S father, we are again hearing parental concern that suspects were cleared too fast. Even in your professional capacity, do you think that it appears that way?
So and I do believe so. I do think that law enforcement is doing the best that they can, but I always try to, again, I'm not in law enforcement, but I try to sort of look at the facts of what we have now. And I sort of wanted to walk folks through really this timeline that we have here. We know the bodies were not discovered until November 14th. And then we know that on November 20th, there was a statement from public relations with the police department stating folks had been cleared and who those folks were. That was a little surprising to me in that, sure, some people may have just handed over their phones to police officers to get alibis for them. But in some cases, it may have taken them to obtain warrants, to obtain data from people's phones. And we don't necessarily know if it did or didn't. Also, in terms of DNA, sure, maybe you can get it back in 2 days, but it's probably going to take a little bit longer than that. And so, you may have someone whose phone possibly put them in a certain location, but you don't know that the person is actually physically with that phone. So then you have to go obtain warrants to get things from video cameras and closed circuit TVs and those kinds of things. And so I'm just very surprised that really within 4 to 5 days, a certain group of people were cleared very, very quickly.
I hear you and always appreciate the context. Tracy Walder, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
News Nation is the source. Okay, this is her opinion. Targeted, personal, perhaps. Doesn't mean that she actually knew the perpetrator, but in his mind, he had an issue with the victim. When you see more wounds on the victim. So what happened in that house? Was Kaylee'S Goncalves the target? What wounds did she have that were more brutal than the other victims? Well, Nikki, I don't know about decapitated because I don't have any information that that's true. I've heard people talking about that in other networks, but I always tell people to bring me a receipt. Because it's disrespectful to say that when we don't know if it's true or not. The point is, why was she the target if indeed it's true? What did she do to this person that he deemed it her death needed to be imminent? Why stab these other kids? And if we're to believe that all these people are in different parts of the house and on floors and different rooms, then you have to ask yourself, what the hell was everybody doing? If I'm to believe that one was on the floor, did they try to crawl out the bed to safety, then died right there? Miss Xana? Ethan in another room or outside of the room, did he confront the killer, hurt the killer, getting something to drink, a soda pop, a beer, what? Two girls sleeping in the bed together, an ultimate tragedy. Because the weight of the person on top of one, 9 times out of 10 would wake the other person up if indeed they were asleep. And imagine being awakened, somebody stabbing your friend. That's why I mentioned in my last live, which one got stabbed first in that bed. Who got stabbed first? Who woke up while the other one's being stabbed? Who tried to run, get out of the room? Then any of them tried to run and get out of the room to safety, but the killer grabbed them. So then you got to ask, well, what was the other person doing in the bed if one tried to run? Was one more inebriated than the other and didn't fight back or didn't fight as well? This is bad. This is so bad. Because what you have to ask yourself is the obvious. Why is one the target? Two, why is this person killing their friends? What do they have to do with whatever the hell you got an issue with this one person? And 9 times out of 10, the issue with Kaylee is nothing. It's over nothing. Even if it was an issue that she said something out of the way to somebody, cursed somebody out, bullied them, that's not worth killing her over. That's not worth killing her friends over. So that's why I asked, had these girls done something or said something out of the way to a guy? Mocked him in some way. He was embarrassed. People were laughing. He didn't get over it. Nobody's going to talk to me like that. Nobody's going to disrespect me. What's the truth? Let me play more commentary, then we can chop it on up. Lord, this case is, man, this case is messed up. This is a messed up situation. It's bad. There are really no words to describe how bad this situation is. All this information is by News Nation. Quadruple murder case takes internet by storm. Uploaded 2 hours ago. News Nation is the source. Thank you for joining me.
Nutrition and gut health.
And Ashley Banfield joins me now. Ashley, you have been on this story since the very beginning. You've been doing it every single night on your show. We know with the Gabby Petito case, the online sleuths really had an impact, helped solve what happened. Do you think that could happen in this case?
So the reality is, Brian, that every police officer will tell you when trying to solve a case, there is no detail that is too small. And they ask the public to bring forth any details because sometimes that minute detail can be the linchpin that opens up an entire other set of facts. Well, I don't know how many total officers have eyes on this, but it's upwards of maybe somewhere below 100. And with the online community, they may be able to triangulate some details between photos that may go missed by the detectives on the case. So in one circumstance, it is highly effective to have that many more eyes that could point out something that's critical to the case. But as we just heard, it can also be detrimental, Brian, to Jeremy Reagan and people like him who all of a sudden become targets for attacks. And those attacks can be relentless. I will also say this, Brian, it is not as though an online community hasn't had incredible success before. You mentioned Gabby Petito. There was also a serial killer in Canada that the online community found before the police found him, and the police ignored them. So there are some lessons to be learned from that, and there are some things the community can actually help with in terms of investigation.
And you mentioned Jeremy. I saw him on your show the other night. He actually lives right down the way here. I can see his apartment from where I'm standing. You can't help but feel bad for that guy. I heard him on your show say, that he actually went to the police station to give up his own DNA just because he wanted to clear his name. All right, Ashley, don't go anywhere because we are going to talk to you about this breaking news that we talked about at the top of the show, the new revelations that we have confirmed about the conditions of the bodies, what that might mean in terms of who was targeted. We're going to get to that coming up right after this break. We are live from Moscow, Idaho tonight. Still ahead, a confounding crime scene. How did a killer seemingly go in and out of the house without a trace? And reality is not always what you see on TV.
We call it the CSI effect, that some people think, well, we should be able to do this.
Our exclusive look inside the Idaho State Crime Lab.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your...
All right, everybody. As you hear, Jeremy has given his DNA to the police, asked to remove himself as a suspect, since some of you all could not wait to throw him under the bus and label him a murderer, which was wrong. This is why I know a lot of people don't need to be on social media commenting. You have to think about the things you're saying about people. You cannot just point the finger at a random person and say, oh, yeah, he did it. Yeah, he did it. That's all you all did, some of you. You just pointed the finger at anybody. And you wouldn't have even known these people if they weren't stupid enough to put their fucking name out there. I'm just telling it like it is. That's why you don't say anything. You go talk to the police. You don't talk to the news. Don't talk to the news. You don't want people stalking you, doxing you. Don't talk to the news. If you do it anonymously. Do it over the phone. Or go to them to verify who you are, but you hide your identity, because once a person gets your government name, all bets are off. It's only a matter of time. Somebody's going to sell you out. Somebody's going to find a way to figure out who you are. And it is sad for somebody to have to go give DNA to a damn police just so you all could shut up. Just shut up implicating this person. That's pathetic to me. You gone from the Grubhub guy and, oh, the boyfriend was standing there and, oh, that boy, he's talking to the news. And you wouldn't have even known about the Grubhub if there wasn't no camera there. You would have never known they were at the Grubhub. I tell you one place you ain't seen no footage, the damn bar where the girls were. How about that? Because bars are very funny about giving up footage of their patrons at the bar. Stay woke. You don't know these people. That's the reason why I don't have a rendering pertaining to what happened to the kids, because I don't know them. The police hasn't given up anything for me to be suspicious about their behavior, what they were doing illegal, or if somebody was more frisky than the other one or cheating on somebody. They ain't told me nothing. So I don't have no theory of who killed who, who's the suspect, the motive. There's thousands of reasons to murder a person. Thousands of reasons. They don't have to make sense to me. But there's many reasons to kill a person. So how am I going to come up with a reason when I don't even know the kids? I don't know anything about Xana, Ethan, Maddie, or Kaylee. Oh, she was on Facebook. Oh, she was on IG. Oh, she was a bathing suit model. Oh, she just broke up with her boyfriend. Oh, she's getting ready to move. Oh, she's going to Texas. Oh, she just bought a new car. Oh, she was getting something to eat. Oh my God, the guy gave her free food. Oh, she rode in a share ride. Oh, she was at the bar. Chew my paw off already. Just going on and on and on. And you don't even know a fucking thing about these kids. Not one person has come forward to say, I know what this one likes to eat for breakfast. This one gets up and does this at 10:30 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning. This is how she acted on her job. This is how he acted on his job. This is what he did when he was angry. This is what she did when she was angry. Those are the things you're supposed to be asking as to find out about the victim in order to find the killer. If you tell us something about the victims, then we could try to piece together who the perpetrator is. But when you're just running around getting information from people that jumped on social media to show, oh, they was at the Grub Hub, then you want to start blowing up the pictures to see who was standing there. Oh, I think that guy looks suspicious. Oh my God, he bumped her. Oh my God, she cursed him out. Oh my God, she said, fuck you. Oh, it must be him. Oh my God, he followed her. He stalked her. You don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, Mary, they don't know about remaining silent. Wrong crowd for that, baby. No, honey, people got to get on the internet and tell all of their business, their opinions, and yeah, I think this and I think this, and you don't know a damn thing about these 4 dead people. You have no idea what the hell was going on with these kids. Did one of them owe somebody money? Did one of them steal something from somebody? Did one of them bully somebody? Did they all bully somebody? Did they say something smart to somebody on the internet? Bickered with somebody on the internet? I don't know. I just, I don't know these kids. So I can't say what they were doing. I can't say who would kill them because I don't know them. I mean, I know nothing about these kids to give a rendering of a suspect. Let's see what else I have pertaining to these kids. Let's go to here. Some old news from 2 days ago. Noise level becomes question of interest in Idaho killings. Lord Jesus. Just everybody's reaching now. Hit the link. You have something you want to say to the queen.
It's cliche to say there are more questions than there are answers. That's not unusual in a developing investigation. But what is unusual?
Yes, Andrea, get somebody
is
killed.
That something so raw and so driven by rage, multiple stabbings, defensive wounds, 4 different people, and yet there is no suggestion of any kind of lead that at least has been made public. We have News Nation reporter Brian Enton, we have FBI profiler Andrew Bringle, and world-renowned forensic scientist whom I have been relying on for case studies for decades, Dr. Larry Kobolinski. It's good to have each and all. And as I said, Brian, weigh in whenever you want. Bringle, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yes. So one fact question and then a question initially just about type. The facts question is 4 different people murdered, defensive wounds. What about sound? If you have defensive wounds and you have multiple stabbings and you have people on 2 different floors, how hard is it to do that with no real noise happening?
Well, it's nearly impossible to kill someone with a knife without eliciting some kind of response from the victim. The victims don't go quietly in the night, even if you're asleep. The first stab wound is not likely to be fatal. And
bingo card. Didn't even cross my mind. And usually I'm good at remembering things. Damn. How did I miss that? Did he cover their mouths with something? Somebody in the last live said something about chloroform. That is the only thing I can think of to keep the victims quiet. Stay woke, everybody. Somebody had to have been screaming. So now let's go back to the 2 surviving roommates. Checkmate. Somebody who lived in the building before in that house said, can't hear anything on the 3rd floor. 2nd floor, perhaps, maybe if there was music playing loud. So let's go here. 2nd floor, 3rd floor, you're killing someone, stabbing them. You mean to tell me none of these people screamed? I didn't think of it either. And I've been on this information like white on rice, thinking of every variable in this storyline. And then, damn, that's sitting right in front of me and missed it. Did the victim scream? Because if you're on the bottom level, the basement, could you hear them screaming on the 2nd floor? How did he get in their doors if they had locks on their bedrooms? Bingo card. Did they lock the doors? So you got to ask all those questions. You have to ask all those questions. Sound in the house. How bad or good is the sound in the house? Did he cover the mouths of the victims? If they screamed, did somebody hear them scream and ignored it? Got scared themselves? What's the truth? Did the girl scream? Hell, did Ethan scream, holler, kick back? What? This is bad. Lord have mercy, this is bad. Because the questions are endless. Where did everybody actually die in the apartment? Who actually died in a bed? Goncalves says both girls died together in the bed. So did they find both victims in the bed, brutally stabbed to death? Ethan, where was he exactly? Xana, where was she exactly? If we're to believe she died outside of the bed, that's possibly why there's blood trailing down the outside wall, because blood seeped down through the floorboards, which is bad because if she's leaning up against the wall, that means she might have been fighting and fell out of the bed fighting for her life or trying to get away from the perpetrator. That lets you know that she bled for hours out for the blood to make it outside the wall, if we're to believe that is Xana's blood or whomever blood it is. This is so terrible. This is so terrible. Mama Bear, do you know that they didn't go to the vigil? And once again, what's the perpetrator at the vigil? Some would say, oh, he's too bold. Nancy Grace says, no, he wouldn't do that. Nancy Grace, you don't know what he would do. He killed 4 people. Who knows what he would do? Because we don't even know who the perpetrator is. Wash up, clean up, cuts on his hands, use anything at the house, washcloths, baby wipes. Did he use anything? Take a shower, leave his DNA, fingerprints on something. Dismissing everybody with an alibi. Are those alibis ironclad? The people who have been cleared. How many people cleared? 2 roommates, share driver, Grubhub guy, one of the ex-boyfriends, that's 5. Who else was cleared? And it's the alibi ironclad. Thank you for joining me. Hit the link. 274 in a row. All you got to do is come on upstairs and play with the queen for a little while. Hit the link. Make it worth my while. 1 hour into this live stream. Everything I've brought to you has a source. If you need verification, please go to my community page. All information is verifiable. If you have a problem with anything said in this live pertaining to the source, I'd say you go call News Nation, because that's who's reporting this information. And to know, just because a person was cleared does not mean they can't go back and re-interrogate a person as evidence comes in. I think most of you know this. Who's been cleared? What are their alibis? What made them clear the people, such as the 2 roommates? What was it in their statement that got them cleared? That's something we need to chop up right fast. What made detectives say these 2 didn't have anything to do with the deaths of their roommates? Size, stature, race, too pretty, don't look strong enough, no defensive wounds, no cut wounds, no nothing. What do we say? Nah, they ain't strong enough to do this. They ain't strong enough to kill him. See, the reason why nobody believes a woman did this is because of Ethan. Point blank. Ethan was a tall dude, and you're going to say in your head, help me understand how somebody could overpower this big old guy and stab him. Because many of you said if it wasn't for Ethan, you would think a woman could have stabbed these other girls. But you see, Ethan lost too. He lost to a man. Stay woke now. Ethan lost to a guy. So think about that for just a second. And Ethan was not a small person, but he didn't win the battle. He did not win the battle. Sadly, he lost his life. Law enforcement expert breaks down what we know about the Idaho killings. I don't think I've played this commentary. If so, we'll listen to it again. Thank you all so much for joining me.
Of investigators being back on the scene now, collecting more evidence, and also how much of a red flag in your mind is it that the lock was replaced the week before? Where is your mind when you hear that piece of information?
Yeah, I was really surprised actually to hear that, you know, somewhat late on a weekend evening that it looks like local law enforcement, just by seeing their badges, is who went inside. It looks to me like it's some kind of evidence recovery that they were doing. If they were turning lights on and off, I haven't seen the footage, but if that's what they were doing, they were most likely looking for bodily fluids of some sort. And if they were taking it out in paper bags, that's usually what we use when dealing with biodegradable kinds of fluids. That's how we transport evidence of that nature. I'm surprised that 3 weeks into the investigation, they're still collecting biological evidence. Typically, that's something that's collected rather early on. So that's surprising to me, although it could be the result of another lead, which is a really good thing. In terms of the locks being replaced that Xana's mother was speaking about, that's interesting to me. I want to know why. Was it replaced simply because, you know, mundane thing that it was just broken? Or was it replaced because she didn't feel safe? So I think that's really a critical thing to look at.
And we know you've been looking at some of the images from the scene from inside of the home. What can you share with us? What is striking to you?
So what's interesting to me, and again, you know, I'm sort of a cyber sleuth here. I'm no longer an FBI agent. I'm no longer in law enforcement. But just in looking at some of the pictures that I've seen that I think folks have probably taken with a long lens into this house, there seems to be evidence taped up on the inside of the kitchen window. So what that indicates to me is that perhaps there is blood spatter. There is some kind of biological evidence there that they did use evidence tape to mark. And so that is an indicator to me that perhaps not all of these victims were killed in their bedroom. We know that Maddie and Kaylee were killed in their beds together, unfortunately.
All right,
but we don't know for sure about Xana and Ethan. So that indicates to me that perhaps there was some violence that occurred outside of the bedroom.
And our viewers at the start of the investigation shocked at the blood on the exterior wall of the house. Can you explain how that happened? What does it tell us?
So that's a hard thing to really talk about. I'll be honest, I have never seen something like that before. I have seen violent crime scenes. I have never seen blood coming out of the side of the house. I'm not certain if it's been confirmed that it's blood or not. It certainly looks like that to me. That's probably the result of sort of bad lining in the house or faulty sort of caulking of the house. And really an overabundance of blood, quite frankly. If you look at the images, I guess, of the house and where the blood is, that's the room that would have unfortunately been Xana's room. But it's hard to know whose blood that is.
The exterior wall outside of her room, and one can only imagine the sheer amount of blood in order for it to drip down an exterior like that. And certainly, you know, the parents speaking to Brian Enton are frustrated. In the past weeks, you have been very supportive and understanding of this investigation. I've appreciated that. In the last hour when we were speaking, you were pointing some things out, and we were discussing, for example, how quickly some of these suspects were ruled out. What could be done better as you are taking a bird's eye view of this investigation?
Yes, and you know, I try to be as supportive of law enforcement as possible. You know, I don't think that they are ultimately trying to do the bad thing. I think they are trying to do the right thing. But what I do think could be better is communication, because I think it was Olivia Gonzalez who just said in that clip that you're referencing was that she feels that this absence of information is creating sort of all of these theories and all of these sort of people that are becoming victims that don't necessarily need to be. And so in my opinion, I do think that communication could be done better on the part of law enforcement and their public affairs office here.
All right, Tracy Walder, certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com.
News Nation, let's chop up what was said. Locks. Was there a lock or locks repaired on the girls' doors or anywhere inside of the house? Who's in charge of repairing locks on the outside and glass doors? I presume that would be management, since the house is owned by outsiders. Evidence brought out recently this weekend. What was put in the bags? What were they looking for inside of those rooms? FBI agents. What else did they find? Anything such as urine, fecal matter, semen? Could it be that somebody threw up? One of the victims or the perpetrator? We have seen people harm other people and throw up after killing someone. Some of you may find that hard to believe, but people do vomit after killing people. Victims could vomit due to the severity of their wounds, being sick at the time, getting sick from seeing their own blood. How long did it take for the victims to die? That's one thing I have not asked during my live streams pertaining to this case. How long did it take for each victim to pass away? Blood near a window in the kitchen. I believe that's on the inside. Blood spatter. Was somebody in the kitchen area trying to get out, save themselves? Was it Ethan? What happened? Was he being stabbed while standing up, running, caught off guard? Where was he in this kitchen area? And was that the blood of Ethan? Once again, did the perpetrator have blood on him or her trying to get out of there, touching doorknobs, handles, latches on the glass door? If we believe they went out that way, did they clean up in order to open the door without leaving any type of blood spatter, residue, fingerprints? Thank you, Pink. Where was everybody at the time of death? We are to believe that two were in the bed together, Maddie and Kaylee. So exactly where was Xana in her room and Ethan? Was Ethan in the kitchen at the time of death? Did he try to get out? Got stabbed, tussling? What's the truth? Blood outside leaked out from the inside, which they are speculating it is Xana's blood and coming from her room. So if we are to believe she did not die in her bed and she died on the floor up against a wall, that would explain that blood coming directly from the scene of the siding to the concrete. So that would lead you to believe the person was up against the wall and bled out. What would be terrible is if she tried to get out her bed to flee the killer. Maybe she was quick, moved quick, was able to try to get out, struggling with the perpetrator, and ended up stabbed numerous times, boom, falls to the floor, lies down by the wall, and bleeds out to her death. And then the blood, all those hours of bleeding out, it trickled outside. Dear God, that's bad. That's really bad. Who was our perpetrator? The link has been dropped in the chat, 274 viewing. You are welcome to come up here with the Queen, give your commentary pertaining to this information I just relayed, that Kaylee is believed to have had more brutal wounds than the other victims. Her father has made commentary about the manner of death or deaths not matching up. I don't understand what that means. I've brought you information from other ex-FBI agents and their perception of the crime itself. Naturally, these are their opinions because nobody knows what happened in that house. Nobody really knows who killed whom first because Coffin Daffer thought Maddie was the target, and now we hear that Kaylee had more brutal wounds. But the flip side is that Kaylee could have had more wounds because she fought back. And if she was a tough cookie, she gave the killer a run for his money. Could that be the reason why she had more wounds? And we do not know where she was stabbed. We'd have to wait to get that from the coroner to tell us exactly where Kaylee was stabbed and how many times they can give us an estimate of stab wounds. So how many times were each person stabbed? Were they stabbed in the neck, the throat, the chest, stomach, groin, buttocks, face, back? It is also said that some of the victims did fight back, the coroner said, and that each victim had several stab wounds. So one person did not get stabbed one time. That was not said. Each got stabbed multiple times. Who had the most stab wounds? And as I said, you would naturally get more wounds either because the killer wanted to stab you more times and or you were fighting back. So naturally, if you're kicking, clawing your hands up at their face, blocking the knife, you're going to have more cuts on your body. That is a vicious way to go. I don't care what anybody says. Because you can get stabbed so many times to where literally you are in shreds, depending on the weapon. You can get stabbed so many times to where you're literally shredded. And it's a terrible description, but it's the truth. Because depending on the weapon used, the force of the weapon, how deep the penetration is of the knife to the body can just get separated from the bone, flesh and bone. And it's a terrible thing to think about. But it is what it is, because that is the weapon a knife was used to kill these people. Yes, I would not want to be burned either. I don't want to go any of those ways. I don't want to be shot. I don't want to be stabbed. I don't want to go in a fire. I don't want to drown. I don't want to be strangled or suffocated. Every box I named, I ain't trying to go none of them ways. The best way to go is in your sleep. You went to bed and you never woke up. You didn't feel nothing. You don't know nothing. You're not fighting anybody. You're not being suffocated. You're not being plummeted with somebody's fist. That would be a terrible way to die too, to be beat to death. So trust me, many ways to go. But who wants to go any of the ways I just named? Prayers to the family, all the family members. the town is on edge because they don't have a perpetrator. And if they don't know the motive, they're walking around like sitting goose, wondering who's going to be next. And I get that. Police aren't telling them anything, so they're just sitting ducks, waiting to see if he's going to strike again. And what will be detrimental if somebody else pops up, stabbed up. Then he will be making a mark in Moscow, Idaho. And the police will most definitely have a problem. No rewards, no posters. Are they trying to save face in this tiny college town because they don't want bad publicity and people to start dropping out of school and people to pull out businesses, ventures with them, the university, so on and so forth? Don't send your kid here. They won't make it. They've got a lunatic on the loose. They don't know who killed those kids over there at the university. Because once you put up the reward, then that news will travel from Idaho to across the nation. And that will be bad blood for the school. But they've already have blood on their hands, Moscow and the university, because the kids are dead. You don't have a suspect. So let's ask the question to Moscow Police Department. Do you have a profile of the killer? Do you have an idea of who the perpetrator is? Do you have a suspect in mind? Do you have suspects in mind? Have you talked to somebody whose alibi does not check out? All the tips you got, 400, 600 plus or so, has somebody piqued your interest? And yes, I mentioned that as well. As far as evidence, DNA under fingernails, hair pulling, hair shedding, thinning hair, clothes fibers, dog hairs. Maybe the owner has the perpetrator has a dog, a cat. It got off on the clothes of the victims. What other fibers were transferred to the victims from the perpetrator? Did he ejaculate in the room? All those type of things. Just because they don't show that the girls had penetration doesn't mean the perpetrator could not have ejaculated in the room, peed in the room, out of spite. You don't know, because people are sick, and sick people do sick things. Could have urinated on the girl's cover, could have urinated on their body. One last hurrah to disrespect the victim. People have been known to urinate on the victims, defecate on them, pose the bodies, stage the bodies, cut the hair, take a memento souvenir. Did he take a souvenir? I've asked all these questions in my past live streams. So basically I'm repeating myself, but I'll go ahead just to pass a little time because I'm 1 hour and 28 minutes in. Did he pose the victims, stage the victims, steal anything such as underwear, clothes, pictures, any type of electronics small enough to put in a pocket? Did he take a backpack, change of clothes, change of shoes? Did he wear booties on his shoes when he walked in? Did he wear a surgical mask as if a COVID mask? Did he wear a ski mask with the eyes out, mouth out, toboggan, baseball cap? So many questions of our perpetrator. Well, you're right. Could have ejaculated when he got home. I don't know. So I don't know who I'm dealing with. Could have been what, Lens? See, you have to come up with these ideas, sick as they are, because it takes all kinds. Every perpetrator does not do what another perpetrator does, because you're talking about two separate different people. So what this guy did over here to his victims, this guy doesn't do to his victims, because the motives are different. Manner of deaths are different. Thought process is different. Where is our perpetrator now? Should we try to draw him out? I'm sure many of you are going to be like, oh, Queen, where you going with this? Let's have a little chit-chats, shall we? I'm going to lean in because I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say to you. Are y'all listening? Nobody wants to join the Queen up here, so I'll just talk to myself. Do you all want to know who the killer is? I can't hear you. Draw him out. The father said something about getting a subpoena for some type of mail pertaining to Kaylee. I don't know what that's about, but that was mentioned in that interview. What type of mail are you speaking of, Mr. Goncalves? Did somebody send her something? Are you all needing to get a warrant to open up a mailbox to retrieve her mail? Did he send any mail to that house? If I'm to believe that she wasn't living there and came up to see her friend and show her her car, what are the odds that she is the target, but yet she doesn't live in the house anymore? What is the truth? Did Kaylee Goncalves still live at that house or no? Well, and that's true. Why the weekend before a lock was being repaired or fixed? Was somebody tampering with the locks inside of the house? Somebody letting in dirty company, giving out passcodes, passed along to other people. People hearing rumors about the girls. So you don't know because we don't even know who the perpetrator is. But let me get back to what I was saying about drawing him out. Calling Mr. whomever, the killer of these 4 Idaho students. Where are you? Where are you sleeping tonight? How have you been sleeping? Are you proud of yourself, what you've done over there in Moscow, Idaho? Do you feel like you are invincible now because you have not been apprehended? You're feeling yourself. Or as my mother used to say as a child, you're smelling your own funk. You don't think you stink right now. So you are enjoying this ride. I know you're listening out there. You're watching people's Facebook groups and things. You're up in the middle of the night wondering that you not leave anything behind at the scene, praying that nobody figures out who you are. But I got a feeling you did leave something behind. Because I want to know if you're clever. I want to know if you were clever or just an idiot. Yes, I'm going to draw your ass out. Because I know that a killer doesn't like to be talked about in a negative way. So I'm going to go out on a limb and help Mr. Goncalves bring your ass out. Yoo-hoo. Hello. Are you just a musty rat? Angry because you were not popular? Nobody wanted to play with you on the playground as a child. You are so angry. You're so mad. You're an incel, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. You can't get a date. You don't know how to talk to women. You're socially awkward. You don't know what it's like to go get a nice haircut. What's wrong? Somebody broke your heart? Somebody doesn't want to be with you anymore? What's the matter? You like peeping through windows and staring in doorways? Who are you? What motivates you? What angers you? Did the girls say something to you didn't like, sir? Did they make fun of you at a party, on a job, at a bar? Did you offer to buy one a drink somewhere and you've never gotten over it? Did you walk by and speak to one of them and they didn't look at you, didn't wave back? Did you ask one of them out on a date? She said no or just ignored you. Have you been sending one of them messages through IG, Facebook? Deny, 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 rebuff, rebuff, rebuff. Who are you? Have you been watching a long time? Can you perform sexually? Oh, yes, I know how to ring a bell. Let me guess. You have sexual problems. Is that it? You can't perform sexually. Your penis doesn't get up. Probably too small to recognize. And you sit there and just gape at yourself in the mirror, asking God, why? Why me? Why don't they like me? Why aren't they attracted to me? What is it about me Kaylee didn't like? Maddie, they think they're so clever, the pretty girls. Is that what this is all about? You snuffed out 4 kids because you were not popular. You thought they were popular? They thought they were better than the other college students? What are we talking about here, sir? Are you sexually inadequate? Have you never even had sex before with a girl or woman? Do you wear glasses? No glasses. Do you drive a car? Bicycle, motorcycle. Do you read a lot of books, comic books? Like to play a lot of video games? Detach from reality. Your reality is television, iPads, cell phones. You've never been able to connect with other human beings, possibly because maybe you were mistreated as a child. I don't know. We'll get to anybody that's close to the victims next. Stay woke now. Are you that socially awkward motherfucker that is a non-relevant motherfucking factor? Nobody's ever liked you. Nobody's ever talked to you. Nobody's ever invited you to the party. Nobody ever played with you on the playground. When it was time to play sports in school, you declined. Were you the guy with the long tube socks with the red and blue around the kneecaps? Is that you, sir? And then you go off to college. It's still a damn problem. Exactly. Nobody knows who you are. Maybe you actually like women, but you wanted one of these and they were not interested. So you said, I'll make you pay. I'll show you. I'll show you I am somebody. I am relevant. I will be validated. I've got feelings. But deep inside, you're all cotton. You're just a broke up doll, a broke up wannabe kin, full of stuffing newspaper. Nothing inside. Vengeful. Easy to anger. Impotent. No confidence. Sadly, you'll kill again. Because it's in you now. Perpetrator number 2. He knows the victims. He is somebody that's been in the circle. He's been the ones that would stand next to Kaylee or Maddie or Xana and stare at them, gazing. Either knows of them or has been close to them, if you get my drift. You like the way they style their hair, put on the makeup. You like the way they smell. You like the way their hair smells. Fresh out the shower, hair blow dried. Oh, I like the smell of her shampoo. Is that it? She doesn't look at me. Or has she looked at you? Has she been with you? Has she dated you? Who are we speaking of now? Perpetrator number 2. You like the way she talks. You like her conversation. You want to be in the room with her. Want to be around her. Can't stand to not see her. See her smile. Hear her voice. Who are you, perpetrator number 2? Are you somebody in the circle of friends? Somebody that's been in the house? Please, Renee, you're killing me. You've been in the house. You sat on the sofa. Drank their soda pop, liquor. What are we saying? You all have same friends of friends. Did they recognize you when you were stabbing them? Call out your name. Did you call out their name if you know them? And tell them why you were stabbing them to death. Are you the perpetrator number 2 that knows the victims? And you told them who they are and why you were there to exact revenge. Who are you, sir? Are you in the kids' inner circle? Perpetrator number 3. You know Kaylee very well. If we're to believe she is the target. Because if she isn't the target, neither here nor there. You're somebody that's been with one of the targets. You've had sexual relations with one of the targets. You've had a relationship with one of the targets. And things did not work out. So on this fateful morning, you said to yourself, if I can't have you, nobody can have you. Is this perpetrator number 3? Is perpetrator number 3 a sexual entanglement, an ex-boyfriend, a current boyfriend? You're miserable. You feel disconnected to the victim. They don't see me anymore. They don't look at me the same anymore. They don't talk to me anymore. Don't call me like they used to. Don't text me like they used to. Don't look at me the same like they used to. Perpetrator number 3. Is he close to the victims? Has had a sexual relationship, dated the victims. Perpetrator number 2 is close to the circle and has been envying one of the victims and wanting to be close, wanting to be desired by one of the girls. Perpetrator number 1 is a buffoon wanting to be in the circle, wanting to be close to the victims, but could not get in. Which is our perpetrator? Number one, random, but lurking. Number two, in the circle, but wanted to get in. Or perpetrator number three, was close to the victim sexually, dated, but it did not work out. Who is the killer? They will catch you. Because I believe you've left behind DNA at the scene. And they will get a match. They will double back. There will be somebody that'll say to him or herself, there's something wrong with this one over here. I've noticed something in their behavior, their commentary, their demeanor. And you will slip up if you have not already. You're going to start talking about the victims. You're going to start asking people hypothetical questions like Theodore Bundy did. You're going to start talking intimately as if you have fucking zoned out and forget where you are, and that's how we're going to catch you. Because I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. You're going to start talking about the girls. What if? What if? And somebody's going to catch on to the conversation and say, something's not right here. What the hell is he talking about? I'd do this if I was the killer. This is what I would do with the clothes. This is what I would wear to the scene of the crime. This is what I would do. Stalk the victim. This is what I would do inside of the house. This is what I would do after I've killed the victims. This is what I would do in the house after killing them. And this is what I would do when I leave the house. Did you put anything in that blue dumpster across the street? My. Very close. Do you live up at the apartment building to the right of the house, sir? Do you live in the houses behind their house? Do you live in the houses to the left of the house? Do you live on the street where the girls lived? Or do you live in the apartment building directly across the street, which would be the back of the building? Because there are so many windows where you would have a bullseye view of the girls coming and going. Who are you? Are you a student? Regular person just holding down a regular job, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, retail, restaurant work, Uber driver, mechanic? Who are you? What would be sad if we find out that the killer was in the inner circle all along? Somebody that knew the kids and became enthralled with one of the girls and waited on this fateful night, set it up to know their comings and goings, and infiltrated the house because he knew how they navigated. He knew who leaves doors and windows open, and he took a chance and went in and killed the girls. Number two, is there any affiliation with the surviving roommates? Any guys they've dated or brought to the house? Boyfriends, entanglements, sexual partners, and they fancied the girls more and knew that they would possibly be at the house. But what we have to figure out is who is our target in order to find the perpetrator. assumingly all the kids hung together and had the same friends and associates. So this still could be a bit difficult in determining who the suspect is. But there's somebody in the inner circle of all 4 victims. It's a matter of picking the one out. Who is he? Because when you determine who the target is, if we are to believe it's Kaylee, then we work our way out of anybody who liked her, dated her, slept with her, messaged her, followed her, sent mail to her, approached her. Any other victims, you exact the same strategy. Who did they talk to? Who did they fall out with? Who messaged them? Who did they block, delete, approached them, dated them, had sex with them, had a problem with them? The method is the same. This is probably the most wicked story I've heard in the past 2 months, because it's rare when you hear friends of friends being brutally killed and so young, especially when it's not robbery, drug related, some type of family dispute, man hating on his wife, so he takes everybody out. You're sitting here asking yourself, why in the world would some bottom feeder kill young kids that were just starting life? Why? What did they do so terrible that you felt the need to kill all of them? So I'm going to ask you, why did you kill all of the kids? Why did you kill all of the kids? As someone said up here on this panel, you went into the house, if we're to believe that you're affiliated with Kaylee in some way, wanting to talk to her, wanting to see her. Maybe she invited you. Y'all had words. You killed her, killed everybody. Or was it really Maddie? Perpetrator gets in, more enraged to see another blonde lying in the bed with her. I don't know. Because I said I don't know these kids. And until I know the children, I can't put a theory on a suspect until I know more about the kids. And is this a boyfriend, ex-boyfriend of Kaylee? Found where she was, angry that she's moving on in the world, moving to Texas with a new job, brand new car. She's moving on up. Got a Range Rover, doing big things. Money moves without me. What is the truth? Or is it just somebody jealous? One of the kids. They all were together. I wanted to make them all pay. The Brat Pack. They're thick as thieves. They think they got it going on. They ain't all that special. You see, it takes all kinds of killers See, people judge you according to the company you keep. Stay woke. Oh, they're nice kids. They're nice looking. They got nice cars. They're always hanging together. Who the hell do they think they are? Is that the type of killer we have? Is that the type of killer that's out there? Is that the person that killed these kids? Just some jealous ass MF that's jealous of some kids. Because they think they got it going on. The perpetrator thinks they got it going on more than he's got. Because you do have men that are jealous of women. Pretty women, nice looking women. Don't look like the type that would date him. He's upset. Factuated. Evil. I've seen a lot of nastiness in my time above this dirt. How nasty men talk about women sexually. Tell all their business. Always calling them bitches and whores. Can't even address a woman as ma'am or miss. That bitch. That fucking whore. Wow, is that the way you talk about women? You do have a mother, don't you? You see, some men hate women. And they'll swear for God, oh, I love my mom, I love my sister. No, you don't. Because when you talk about a woman in that manner, there's no way you can love your mother. Because you wouldn't address a woman in that manner. Who was our perpetrator? Are we going to be shocked when we find out who he is? Will people be gawking and saying, my God, you've got to be kidding me? No. Will you be shocked when you find out who the killer is? Will it be somebody that knows the kids, was in the inner circle, jealous, envious of one or all? Is it somebody that one of the girls dated, didn't work out, or they were having current problems but nobody knew? Family didn't know. Who is the perpetrator? Is the perpetrator affiliated with those two survivors? Because I still want to know more about them. Did one of them invite somebody over for a little hanky-panky? And when he got there, he wanted to play funny games with one of the girls upstairs. Waited till one of these bottom floor roommates fell asleep and lingered up to the top floors and killed all four of the friends. Did somebody use one of the bottom floor roommates to infiltrate the house? Stay woke. Because what is going to be baffling if we find out the perpetrator was invited in. Didn't have to jimmy anything. Didn't have to check to see if a door was open, window was open. Didn't have to climb a balcony to the third floor. You let me in. You all better pay attention. That's what's going to be the headbanger. Them two surviving witnesses, roommates, know a little more than what they told. And I said I would not implicate anybody in this storyline, but I'm chopping up everybody affiliated with this house because that's what's going to be jacked up if this shit's got something to do with the ones on the bottom. Somebody they know they let in. And one fell asleep and the guy ran through the house looking for them girls. Knew about the girls and wanted to play funny games. Because it has happened. I have seen, I don't know how many stories of people rooming with people, living with people, somebody's other boyfriend, sex partner makes advances and they are rebuffed and they take advantage of the female, such as rape, sodomy, or worse. Could this be the case with the Idaho 4? The perpetrator was invited over, and he used these girls or the opportunity to go upstairs and kill these kids. I don't know. One would say, well, wouldn't that be sexual more in nature? I don't know. I think the fact that the kids weren't sexually abused will kind of make you think it's somebody that was liking one of the girls and was rebuffed. See, I don't know. I don't know much about sadism, who would sexually assault and who would not. But this is a very, very interesting story. And I pray for an answer. I pray for an answer. Well, that's true. That's why I said, usually when you see cases of women killed, a lot of times, especially if the perpetrator broke in, there's usually some essay involved. So that's why I said I can't make a rendering because I don't know the kids. I don't know what they had going on to visualize a perpetrator. If I had more information about the children, what type of personalities they had, what type of problems they had, I might be able to form some type of theory. But because we have so many victims, I don't know. I don't know. Yes, it could be anyone. That's the whole point of the story. You're talking about college kids, college campus, small town or not, still enough people to give you variables. Nothing but apartments around you, possible living around people that didn't go to school, kicked out of school, people living off of other people in their apartments. So you have to ask all those questions. Who actually lives in the neighborhood? Friends of friends, family, people moving into town, crashing at people's houses, coming up to stay with people for the weekend that are college students. You have no idea who the perpetrator is. Could be somebody that came 2-3 hours to visit their homeboy, homegirl, fixated on one of the kids. See, we don't know. Passing by, saw the kids going and coming in their cars. Because I'm going to say this, and I'm going to check out of here. If indeed it was Kaylee as the target, and she had not been living in that house for 2 weeks or so, and we get some type of evidence, ironclad, that she was the target, then that means somebody took advantage and found out she was there. And either was invited in that house or checked for doors, openings, or already knew the code. They already knew the code. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Mind the children. Happy holidays to the viewing audience. Please be aware of your surroundings. Know that you can make a phone call to save a life, especially about a child. No snitch rule when it comes to children. Prayers to these families for justice for their children. Prayers for this town and all the college students, because they don't know who the perpetrator is. And I feel sorry for these people that live here because they don't know what to think. And who would know what to think? Please be aware of your surroundings while Christmas shopping. Put everything in the trunk, nothing on the seats, nothing in the floorboards. Do not post to social media what you're buying, where you're going. If you're traveling out of town, be careful of inviting the wrong people in your house to see your valuables. That's why you don't post those Christmas trees with all those presents underneath. Stay woke. You can't be home to pick up your packages. UPS, FedEx, get somebody to do it. Beware of parked cars, people lurking around in the neighborhoods, walking around, banging on doors, lurking. Call the police. That's all you got to do. When shopping, carry a crossover bag, ladies. No big purses. Carry some cash. Give your debit card a break. Easier to have cash than have to put stuff back on the card. Beware in the store for fraud. Always get a receipt. Have your keys ready before you leave out of the store. Do not fumble for your keys outside in the dark or daylight. Do not talk to strangers while going to your car, as this could be a decoy to get your attention, to rob you. Put everything in the trunk. Do not stop in the dark for nobody. I don't care if they bump the back of your car. Make sure you get that car bumped to a public gas station where you can be seen. Do not open your purse to strangers in public. Be aware of your surroundings. Make sure all your windows and doors are locked. And go to the outside to check for any way that a perpetrator could enter your house. That's the best way to know if your house is foolproof or not. Go outside. Check your doors, your windows, your sheds, garages, all of that. Make sure you lock all your car doors inside the garage or in the driveway or off-street parking. Please be safe. These are rules you need to follow, whether it's the holidays or not. And thank you for the love in the chat. If you like Christmas movies, The Queen is in Dolly Parton's new movie, Mountain Magic Christmas, airing on NBC and Peacock. It aired Thursday night at 8, still running. I'm in the opening scene of the movie, in the casino scene. Thank you so much for the support and love. Whew. I'm going to tell you the truth. Talking about this case, yes, keep your jewelry wearing to a minimum. Very good. Thank you so much for that. It's very true. This case has drained me. And whenever I start having nightmares, that's a sign it's time for me to stop talking about the case. Because I had a nightmare, I believe it was Saturday morning. I'm talking about this too much. I'm doing too many lives a day about this story because every day it's something coming up. And I've got this nasty feeling in my stomach like I did with the school teacher in Memphis. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like stories like these. I like true crime, but there's just certain stories that scare the shit out of me, and this is that one. Because I was once a college student, and I never lived off campus or lived with different women in an apartment, but nonetheless, I know about college life. So this is very scary to anybody that goes to school or has lived the college life. And as one of my fans spun a story yesterday on the live stream pertaining to her daughter who attended the University of Tennessee years ago. She was stalked by an anonymous person at the university through IG. And this person drove all the way to Memphis, Tennessee, thinking the daughter was there. This shows you how sick and crazy people are. That a person would assume that you went home for spring break and you were not there. This person is dangerous. Because how in the world would you drive at least 6 hours to a stranger's house that you do not know, all because you are fascinated with them from an IG account? This is why it's not good to post so much on social media. Pose in skimpy outfits, thongs, half naked, sex talk. You're asking for trouble. And you could be in a nun's habit and still attract a stalker. Sicko, wacko, crazy person. Doesn't matter if you're in full clothes or half naked. You don't know people. I have been around nothing but murder since last year. In the stories I've covered personally. And I need a break. I can't keep talking about dead people every day. Because I know one case that was a young girl murdered here. Know of her family. They found her discarded on a private property that was abandoned. Somebody I know personally was murdered September. I just talked to him in June? He's now dead. TBI is investigating. Still no perpetrator apprehended. And the killer is walking around us right now. And people say they know who the killer is, but yet he has not been arrested. Chad Carr still missing from a halfway house. Somebody killed that boy. These stories are too much to bear. And I think about Eliza Fletcher, who was a school teacher in Memphis, Tennessee, a few months ago, who was brutally kidnapped from the University of Memphis while running by an African-American man. And he went off and played funny games with her and killed her and dumped her in an abandoned house down the street from his brother's apartment. I have not been right since that case. And I know my spirit is telling me that I've got to stop talking about these dead people because Eliza Fletcher was a true crime fan. So what I often wonder is if she was listening to a true crime podcast the morning she was running, because she was known to carry and wear earbuds in her ears. This is why you don't need to wear those things out. And I don't recommend you wearing them to bed at night. You need to be able to hear in case somebody is breaching a door or window or something in your house. But the flip side is you may be in deep sleep if somebody breaks into your house or you're running, walking on a track field or something, and you have those earbuds in, don't ever wear earbuds out in public. Death is real. And most of us take for granted that we're going to be here and live forever, and that nothing bad is ever going to happen to us. But you can't think like that. I don't say dwell on the macabre, but you do need to be aware of your surroundings, because the devil is real and he's using people, and he has foot soldiers working for him for free, and they do not mind snuffing you out. So you need to be careful of the company you keep, the people you fraternize with, going to places that you don't know anything about, hooking up with people you don't know anything about, going to their house, home, motel, hotel, meeting them in off-brand places, inviting them back to your house. People have died a multitude of ways. Do not become a victim. We all make mistakes, and the one mistake we make is trusting strangers. You can't trust a stranger, and you can't trust people that say they love you. You can die by the hands of either one. Yeah. Your mama, she lame too. Thank you all so much for joining me. I will talk to you guys a little bit later this week. Be safe. Happy shopping. Happy holidays. Yes, Carrie, be careful. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Justice for the Idaho 4.